Good morning, friends. Thanks for being here this morning. This is Journey Home Meditation, and this is our morning sit. Yeah, stick around for a little bit. We'll do some little contemplation, maybe some poetry, and then we'll get into a little bit of our meditative practice. My name's Michael, and I'm happy to be here with you. I was doing some reading this morning. I'm working on a new practice, and I'm revitalizing some of my morning devotions that I have let go by the wayside a bit as I was experiencing some of the I don't know, I guess maybe the effects of not having my morning practice be the same, but probably more so. I've been going through a lot of physical changes over this last year, and there's been ups and downs with my energy levels. And there for a while, I was requiring a bit more rest, and so I stopped doing a lot of my morning devotions, especially my morning physical activity. Um, I had developed this practice of doing body asanas, right? Like stretching yoga every morning, pretty early in the morning for some time. And it was very beneficial, extremely beneficial on every level, physically and emotionally. And it allowed me to get some mental clarity and brought a new level of depth to my other practices that I have, my meditation practice, my spiritual practices, my interpersonal relationships. Like everything started to shift as I shifted my body. But then I allowed myself to go slack on some of that practice. And within a couple of years of not doing it every single morning the way that I was, so with such devotion, I started finding myself getting physically challenged, and emotionally, I was not as, I guess, what would the word be? See, here I am starting to compare. So I don't want to say I'm not as something. Emotionally, I was tender in a way that a wound is tender. Um, I had a level of fragility that I had not had in a long time. And even in hearing myself explain what it's been like these last couple of years with all of my practices, um, I'm starting to recognize that I'm doing some comparisons, comparing my practice now to my practice then. I'm comparing my physical health or stature now to what it was then or what it will be. And we can get stuck in these places of comparison. And generally it occurs. See, a lot of people think that um, we compare ourselves to those that we deem lower than us, right? Well, I'm better than them. This is why like programs like the Jerry Springer show were so wildly popular, as it was always frequently commented on that, it's good to watch people whose lives are more of a mess than mine. It makes me feel better about myself. But that's not really true. And it's not really true on a number of levels. Of course, we know it's not true that it doesn't make us actually feel better about ourselves when someone else is deep in a misery that we are not. But what it does, what it could be doing, is it could be assuaging our guilt for not being as good as the thing we compare ourselves to. This thing, this idea that there's this goal to achieve that is more than what I am now. This idea that I will be less of the thing I don't want and more of the thing I do want later. And then the thing with more is it's never satisfied, right? It's never satisfied. You want more and then you get it and you want more. There's no end to more or less. Those things are infinite, right? And this, I believe, is why uh, in the earliest teachings of the Buddha talks about um, talks about things like the Brahma Viharas, the divine abode, and there's four of them that the Buddha talks about, and one of them specifically is generous joy, joy that gives. And to get there, you have to think about mana. Mana is a Buddhist term for arrogance or pride or the way that we compare ourselves. And that's what I was talking about with the Jerry Springer aspect is we get into this place where we think that we're comparing ourselves to those who have less than we do to make us feel better. This is the arrogance. This is the mana. Um, and this creates in us a way of being that we aren't able to recognize that the entire time we are making our status above another, it's only because we are bringing ourselves down below another ideal of who we are. Um, and so this thing of comparison, like even this morning when I started this sit and talking about how, well, my practice isn't what it used to be. My physical shape isn't what it used to be. Well, that's comparing. I'm comparing myself to this ideal of who I was at another time instead of finding the way into mindfulness and awareness of what I am right now, what I'm experiencing right now. Where is this body right now? Not in comparison to where it was or where it will be, because it will be dying one day. It will be sick, it will be weak and frail, and it will be breaking and it will fall apart. And it was once soft bones and mushy flesh, and it was once unable to tend to itself in any way whatsoever. When we are born, when a baby is born, completely at the mercy and grace of the world to feed us, to hold us, to cleanse us, to care for us, to make us laugh. Um, and then we grow into these things. We are changing, but to compare ourselves to how we used to be, it's fruitless because we used to be a lot of things that we're not anymore, and we will be things that we are not yet. So there's no sense in comparing what I am now versus then, because that's just a thief of this moment. It steals our now, right? One of the Buddhist teachings is comparison is the thief of joy. The thief of joy, the mudita. Mudita is that all giving joy, right? And when we begin to compare, it's always a matter of taking away our ability to find joy in this moment. So I'm grateful that I'm being brought to that awareness right now by my own story, my own countenance. Uh, wow, that's great. Because I think about things like comparison, and I remember times uh, in my life when I really thought that I was doing the right thing. and doing on this right path, this correct path, and I was receiving a lot of accolades, and people I thought people thought really highly of me. This is when I was a teenager and I was a singer in a really good hardcore punk metal band, and we were really popular, right? And people, when you're popular, when you're a teenager, man, when you get popular for something that you do that you love, there's like this thing that happens where people treat you differently. And I learned a lesson quite early on that accolades are not the same thing as intimacy. Right? The intimacy that I crave as a human, this closeness of relationship with others, it's not the same thing when people give you accolades. That's not intimacy. And so it's like saccharin. It's this saccharin kind of sweet. It's this calorie-free sweetener that gives us no nutritional value but tastes sweet on the tongue. It ends up being a carcinogen, by the way. It ends up forming into an all-consuming cancer, and you never get the intimacy you were seeking. It's lipstick and rouge or smoke and mirrors. But what happens is you place yourself, or you get placed upon this pedestal, and the only place to go from the pedestal is down, to jump off, to fall off, to be taken off of the pedestal. So you make a mistake and you get judged far more harshly, right? And we do this to one another, and we do this to ourselves often. Even this morning, I was doing it to myself at the beginning of this when I was thinking in my mind the way that my body worked a few years ago with my daily practice. My mind started to go down that line of comparison. And, it's like you can open up these pathways of thought that just very quickly have a life of their own. And all of a sudden I could be quickly in this space of self-deprecating and punishing myself for not being what I was. And it reminds me that comparison is the ingredient to turn adoration into resentment. Yeah, comparison turns adoration into resentment. When I have adoration towards a person and I really hold them in high esteem, and I really think, "Man, this person's really exemplary. They're doing really amazing things." And then I think, "Well, why don't I do what they do? Why am I not that good? Why am I not working 60-hour weeks? Why am I not going to the gym every day after work and maintaining a strong fitness schedule? Why am I not getting invited to all the parties? Why am I not?" And da 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 da. Da. It goes on and on, you know. And then I form resentments. Well, he's not so special. She's not so great. And I start seeking ways to tear it down. And I don't think this is happening on a conscious level. Like, I don't sit around and make these decisions. You don't sit around and make the decision to do this. I think this is what begins as seemingly innocent can quickly become nefarious in without any natural control of our own if we are not exerting awareness, right? And if I'm not bringing myself into awareness about the ways in which I'm not only speaking, but thinking and reinforcing my thoughts about something, then I'm bound for trouble. And that's what comparison is all about. It's like it's like we either put ourselves in our worst moments against someone else in their best. This happens a lot on social media. Yeah. We see these refined pictures of a life and we assume that this is the entirety of a person, and we put ourselves in our worst feelings against their best pictures, this is not going to work. It's not going to work out. And it doesn't work out when you look at pictures of your younger self, and you can forget that you had to go through that to get to where you are, that it wasn't all the photograph of the smiling friends, that it was also all of the growing, you know, all of the growth. And that growth came with great strides and great pain and great loss, and a lot of grieving. And you've earned your place today. And I don't like to use that word often about earning, because it tends to come with this notion that you aren't enough as you are, you have to earn it. But what I'm saying when I say this is don't forget that where you are right now did not come always easy. It wasn't always easy to get to where you are today. To wake up and be alive in this moment wasn't always the easiest thing. To be able to put on clothing today and get out of bed and move through your day, it wasn't always the easiest thing, and you did it. And so comparing myself now to what I was then is stealing. It's stealing away from everything that I've done between then and now. What a great reminder. I did have a poem picked out today, but I'm not sure if it's still appropriate. Let me just see if it tends to. Yeah, I think I'm going to wait on this. It's a wonderful poem by Miller Williams, but I don't think that it really is pertinent now that the conversation has, in my mind, my mental conversation has moved into something new. But yeah, perhaps now is a good time for silence. So, talking about silence. I was once talking about silence is like fighting for peace. So, let's just invite silence in for a moment. So, as we find our meditation posture, this is just a reminder that this is a devotional practice to our breath. This is breathing in and breathing out, and everything that encompasses. So, our practice and our posture begin at the same place, seeking balance. Seeking balance. So, opening our ability, our capacity to receive breath and to release breath by stretching our spines a bit, elongating our bodies, bringing our shoulder blades together just a little bit in the back. Nothing drastic. Gentleness and non-violence is this practice. We don't want to stretch ourselves and contort ourselves into an uncomfortable place right now. Not right now. There's times for that, but not right now. Opening the chest, opening the heart, gently breathing in through the nose to the bottom of the belly, letting the belly fill. And as we exhale out of the mouth, gently and slowly exhale. Continue this pattern of breath and let your body move into a stillness and a silence. See if you can begin to recognize the beating of your heart. Gently breathing in and out, bringing stillness into the body, you'll be able to feel the rhythm and the pulse of your own heart in your breath. I think somehow the poem has become appropriate. This is called On Not Writing a Love Poem by Miller Williams. How do I say what everybody says as if it hasn't been said by everyone? What can I do considering all the dead that isn't banal, pretending it hasn't been done? There is no death, love, birth that isn't trite. If all of our passions are long discovered islands patterned with footprints, a Sunday tourist site, let people cupping their ears say, listen, what silence. I found that poem to just be beautiful. It has a touch of humor, and it's this poet who's saying basically, everything's been done that can be done, right? The Beatles said that. There isn't anything you can sing that can't be sung. There's nothing you can do that can't be done. So, in this, with this understanding, this poet is saying, I'm going to write a love poem with silence, silent adoration. And I guess it does apply, when we're talking about adoration plus comparison equals resentment, then adoration with full acceptance, what does that look like? What is what does it look like to love another or yourself, not despite your many imperfections, but with them? Maybe not because of them, but we don't have to love because of anything. We can just love. We can just adore. I was watching last night. I like hip hop a lot. I grew up loving hip hop, and that's something my son and I often talk about. My youngest son, we talk and we get into debates about the greatest MCs and all of that. It's fun. It's good times. But I was watching in the hip hop culture. You have battles, right? And these are generally seen as kind of no harm, no foul, ways to kind of one up one another in this battle. And you do that and you tear each other down, but it's supposed to be in good fun. But I saw this opposite of a battle. I saw this way that it was a battle not against one another, but against the notion that we have to be better than one another. And the battle was it was actually two friends who were freestyling and they were lifting each other up. Who could lift each other up better? Who could bring each other into the light better? Who could highlight one another's really amazing characteristics and why they love one another? And it was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. Number one, to see two men uh, becoming vulnerable and emotional about how much they loved one another. Right, this love, this deep love of a brother or a friend, whatever it was, whatever lines we want to place on it. They didn't exist. It was just two grown men telling the world how much they love their friend, and all of these beautiful rhyme schemes and poetic flow, and it was like the core of what hip hop really could be to me. Uh, and that was nice. It was nice to be a part of that. Not from being there, I wasn't present, but to be a part of that feeling. This is what we do. We enter into these places. You are a part of this. I am a part of this. We are a part of the things that we are bringing into our body. If we were eating food together, we would all be a part of that meal. There's no different when we're bringing in ideas, we're bringing in information, we're hearing and seeing things. We are a part of that. It becomes a part of you. So if it becomes a part of you, then you are part of you is it. Like, uh every person you've ever loved is a part of you. Every person you've ever despised is a part of you, right? Every color you've ever seen gets registered and remembered. Every feeling. We are bringing the world into our existence every day, and it is all a part of us. This is the recognition of oneness. It's not a highfalutin idea that we can never fight or that we can never disagree. Of course, we can do those things because we're all a part of the same being, and that happens, and that's okay. You know. But I guess that's it for me today. That's it. That's all I have. Thanks so much for being here. And yeah, I feel really good. I had a processing session today. I feel like I just came to a therapy session. It's a good reminder to not compare myself with my practice today to what it was or what it will be. My practice today is non-comparison. That's what it is. And I'm so grateful for the awareness that I receive from slowing down and putting my mind to it. So thank you, everyone, for being here today. Such a joy, such a pleasure. Hmm.